So the property editor comes in Umbraco, but there is no actual data type created. Now, if anybody's used crops before, you'll see here that you can add new crops if you want, define crops, different various kind of set sizes for your editors. But with this new kind of approach, you don't really need to do that. And what that means is that now, using the new image cropper, you can kind of define in code whatever sizes of images you want. And because the editor will get to define where the point of interest is in the image, pretty much all of the crops will just work from that. So rather than having to go through each crop that's used on the site and specifying exactly which part of the image they want to use, it kind of does it automatically. But if you're not happy with that, you can always just go back to the old way of using named crops. And in code, there's quite a nice, it's quite easy to retrieve named crops with the new system. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the text page so that the images are going to come from the media section. So rather than having an upload type, I'm going to use a image crop. Save that, go back to my content tree. Now one of the nice things about that is that it remembers what you'd chosen before. So even though this is now a media picker, it remembers the one that was chosen before. So if I remove that, sorry, I did a mistake there. What I meant to do was make that a media picker. And then in the media, replace types. Okay, so here I have the images in the media section. What I've done is I've replaced the upload image with a image cropper. You see this GLUUG dot here defines the point of interest for the image. And that means that any crops that I call will always focus around this area of the image. So, if I go back to my content tree, and now I choose my images from the image section. Okay, so now I'm obviously going to have to update my code. Let's have a look at the home page. So at the moment, these are kind of the old way of doing it. If I refresh this, they're probably going to break. So if I have a look at the code, right. In my template, no, it's in a partial view macro features. So at the moment, all it's doing is setting the source to the image property, which works with an upload, but obviously doesn't work now because we've changed it to a media picker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that with some extra code. We need the Umbraco web dot models namespace, and then I'm just going to slide in some code there. So what I'm doing there is now that we're using a media picker, the image attribute of our page is just an integer. And so I'm getting a typed media object called feature image. Then on that feature image I can call get crop URL. And I can pass it a width and a height. And these are all basic parameters for James's image processor. And you can pass it a ratio mode, which means that, what does it mean, James?
It means it calculates a ratio based upon a particular dimension.
Right.
So if you say give me a ratio of the node height, give me the ratio which matches the height.
Okay, so in my code, you'll notice that, okay, it's pulling through the images now, but there's a lot of black space around the edges. The reason for that is, I think I've passed in, okay, so there we go. But the advantage of this is that with using the get crop URL, I can pass options to the image processor. So for example, we can add filters. Now, I'm not sure why you would ever want to do this on a real site, but there you go. And that's kind of just out of the box, Umbraco. There is some extra stuff there with Slimage, which is a JavaScript library which works out the resolution of the device you're on and what the maximum image sizes should be. And if you use that JavaScript in association with this, you can have fully responsive images with very little work. If you look at the Umbraco blog, Jevon Leopold has done a really good blog post about how that works, and he's also done a U-Hangout with Warren Buckley about it. And I'll include the link at the end to the blog post on that. I'm not going to go through it just now. So basically, we've gone from in the past, if you wanted to control the editor's images, having to install external packages, having to define all the crops manually, to now having everything really in the core of Umbraco. So the editor is just using built-in features, and you know that their images are never going to break your site because it's your code that decides what size the image is going to be. The image processor is going to make sure that the ratio is correct. You can apply filters as and when, and it's all very efficient and kind of easy to achieve. The other major advance in v7.2, I think, is the new grid data type. Have any of you seen the Loquati demo, The Sky's the Limit, showing the new editor? Has anybody seen that? No, not very many people have. Okay. So, there's a new data type called grid. And again, it comes as a property editor, but there isn't actually one defined. So you could have a number of different grids across your site because each one can be configured separately. So you have to go in and create one yourself. So I'm just going to call this grid. One thing I should say before I go on with this is that I saw a blog post today from Per in the core team that says that this is all going to change in the beta version. So while the principles will still stay the same, the kind of implementation of things is going to change. And the UI has been updated to make it much easier to create your own custom grid configurations. Well, I'll show you what I mean. So there are some other options down here, and I'm just accepting, more or less accepting the default settings. So if I go to my text page and add a new tab for grid. Save that, and then go into okay, so here's the grid. James, do you know, is there a way of getting rid of the content tree while working with stuff? Does that work? thought I saw somebody do that.
Just click on the.
I thought we could just shift that across. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I've got quite a small screen, so this is only one row. We're kind of small on the.
No, click on the content icon on the dimension map.
Click on the
Content
right there.
icon.
No. Anyway, so basically it says to start, select a layout for your grid. And here we've got a number of different layouts. It's a single column. I don't know if, can you see that? There's like a main column and a smaller right hand column, main column, smaller left hand column, and 3 equal columns. So let's create a single column, and then we've got a number of different.
Can you keep your own grids? Can you configure that?
Yes.
Those different layers?
Yes. Yeah. Everything is configurable. And the new system, I'll show you the link again, but it's the latest blog post on the Umbraco site, shows you how the interface is going to work. So you can actually create it on the screen and say it's based on a 12-column grid. I'm sure if any of you used Bootstrap, you'll be familiar with that. And it allows you to define how wide each one is and add a new one and say in the interface, just define your new grids that way. So that's quite good because at the version I'm working with here, it doesn't allow you to do that. You have to do it all in code. So you can have a single column, or say for example a headline. So a headline is pretty much a simple, it's just a text field really. And then you can have an article. Now an article can have, this is a quote and this is an image. So say for example we want to put an image in here. Choose an image like that and add a caption. And then on this side, that's just a rich text editor. Save and publish that. Now I can show you this on our site.